thanks for that intro. I am a father, and yeah, they change quickly. I really like that I'm following Miles' presentation, because I think I'm going to change my initial intro to say, I'm going to try and tell you how we can do left brain and right brain all in one study. And let's see if I can nail that when I talk about it. I'm going to talk about myself just a little bit at the outset. Who here went to college? All right, so I went to college too. This was me on graduation day. No gray hairs on that head. When I went to college, I fell in love. But not with my future wife that came later. I fell in love with econometric modeling. I found that, this amazing data, sorry Sequoia, you said data's boring, I don't think so. Amazing data with the right statistical models can explain the world, it can explain everything. But I didn't want to be a college professor. I wanted to find a way to do this for my life, right? So luckily I found a job where I could do that. So this is the thing I saw first thing in the morning every day out of college. This is Jerome, my friend. Sorry, for the youngsters, this is what's called a cubicle. And we lived in those. And I saw Jerome every single morning like this, and even Saturdays sometimes, so different times. And we thought, between all the models we were bringing together, he did A/B testing, I did big regression models, we're ready to take over the world. And I still kind of believe that. What I'm going to talk about is the mix of qual and quant data and how to bring that all together. So if you would have told this statistician, back when he was a rookie, that he'd be speaking about using qualitative data, he'd be shocked at this point. So the thing about those models I was doing, very powerful stuff, really useful for our clients, brought a lot of value, but they sometimes took up to 6 months to be completed. Imagine waiting 6 months for in-market results these days. I mean, you'd be out of a job, right? And data is available for us faster than ever at this time. So let's look at some data. So familiar? Purchase intent. We've got a new, let's say we've got a new hair care solution that's out in the marketplace, and we run some tests. Great. Well, what should D? Looking good. We've got some statistical testing, so in my nerdy heart, I love that. But F and G look pretty good too. What do you think? Maybe we should get some qualitative data on top. So let's see what the consumers say. Let's go talk to women and see what they think about their hair. Now, we've done our qualitative research, and we find that there's one word coming to the forefront that's really important. Everybody's using that word, natural. Natural is super important. Well, this is great. Our concept is all about a sustainable, eco-friendly shampoo. So we're ready to go, right? We've got our concepts tested, and we found out that natural is really important, top of the word cloud. But actually, when they're talking about natural, they're not talking about the environment at all. They're talking about a natural look and feel for hair that's easy to manage, that doesn't require a lot of effort. So we've kind of missed a trick there. I'll come back to this in just a sec. But I want to just take a step back and say, what's our purpose here? And I think a lot of people have kind of touched on this in the last, throughout today about why are we doing research? We're doing research, yeah, we want to know more about consumers and about people and about humans, but it's only so useful if we can't actually go and do something that those humans will love. So if we're just doing research for knowledge's sake or for understanding's sake, great, it's probably not really driving action unless we're bringing it, designing it in such a way that we can drive action. So every single bit of research we do should have that in mind. We look at an equation about how to make sure that that's happening. So when you're doing research, it should be to maximize the value of that research. There should be a purpose behind it. And it should be about unlocking revenue. Most people here, I think, are working on brands of some kind. And so you're not just doing research to understand, who's going to win the baseball fantasy league, but really what's going to drive actual revenue. Cool, that part's really simple, right? But then there's these other considerations you need to think about. How much does that research cost? There's the cost of how much you're paying for your CPI or your suppliers and all that, but there's also the time it takes to do the research. Do you have to go in and brief an agency? Do you have to entertain 6 proposals? All of those things. All that takes time. Do you have to review the discussion guide and everything else you're doing? And then, do you actually have to go and do the research? Sometimes it can take weeks to analyze all the data you're getting in. And there's another even more important piece, which is how do you get influence to make the decision? What Miles was saying about getting people, I was in the room, I told them, they didn't listen. Well, you need to be able to make a decision. So if your research is not purposed from the very beginning to action, it's that much harder to get that decision made. This is a huge industry, $76 billion globally. So a lot of money is being spent on the things that we do, which is great. We have jobs, right? But unfortunately, 95% of innovations are not successful. It's not always our fault. Sometimes they don't ask us. They should ask us. We're smart people. They should support the innovation once it goes to market, get the marketing team involved. But if we're really doing our job, that number should be a lot lower. It gets a little worse in that 70% of clients are not happy with their strategic recommendations in the industry. This number has been consistent for the last 3 years. So even though we're aware that this is what clients are looking for, as an agency side of the industry, we're not really hitting the mark right now, which means there's space and opportunity to improve. So we can get data super fast, all different kinds, but we run risks when we're not really getting the data that we need to go take action. I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. I think remember when the Pepsi folks talked earlier today about take your time with your segmentation. This is an example of what happens when you don't do that. So we had a client, I won't say who it was, sticking with hair care, and they came to us and they said, we've got this new segment, it's super important. We need to understand them really well. There's a huge business opportunity for us. So please, can you take these segmentation results? We want to deep dive on these people so we know about their unmet needs and what to do. Great, that's what we're here for. Problem was, when we looked at their segmentation, the people they were looking for, bald men with hair. So I don't know what that looks like. Is it this? Or maybe this? Maybe that one, movie star, another movie star. Problem was, like 4 of these men, that target does not exist. So what they did was they went too fast. They brought 2 segmentations from 2 different suppliers together and said, here, Catalyx, go figure it out. And we said, take it back. We can't do this study. Come back to us when the segmentation works. And they had to go do a ton of rework to sort that out. Another place to look, I'm going to talk about just a blog post here that's really relevant and really useful. If you Google, bad surveys don't smell, this will be the first thing that comes up. And the issue with surveys is often, okay, we've got bots and we've got straight liners and all that kind of thing. But the real issue is many surveys we do end up with confirmation bias. Think about the first slide I showed. We've got some data. Purchase intent's really high. Is it? Did we ask it in the right way? Did we get what we need? We had a client come to us recently and said, we want to explore this area. We've done the claims testing. We know consumers love it. And we said, we don't think consumers even know what you're talking about. So we did some other research to find out, no, they had no idea what they were talking about, even though the claims testing was super high. So again, go too fast, you run the risk. And in that case, they listened to us, and we did a great study to understand what needs to be true for consumers to understand that data. So again, if you think about that equation again, any sort of risk in that research that gets you to have to move back and not really have the right set of information is going to upend all of this, right? So going too fast can be a risk. I'll talk about myself a little bit again. So when I first joined Catalyx, I met with a client in the first week of my job, and they said to me, oh, great, welcome to Catalyx. Are you a quant or a qual? Have you heard that? I said, sir, I'm a human being. I contain multitudes. I'm neither nor, I am both. And I mean, I'm a statistician, right? So brainy nerd that wants to talk about data all the time. But I was always looking for context and telling a story out of that data. So I think a lot of the industry separates into these 2 divisions that really doesn't make sense. If we think about left brain and right brain, there's no reason you can't be both if you're trained up and have all the understanding behind that. So at Catalyx, we've looked at a way to try and get across all of that quant-qual divide and bring it all together into one place. So what we're doing with our studies is using our consumer activation system to understand these different dimensions of consumers in every single study. So we're not just asking questions. Tons of research asks questions about what consumers think. Even if you do a sit-down interview, there's a lot of what do they think about what I'm saying. With other techniques, you can find out how they're living their lives. What do they use at home? How do they go shopping? How do they truly feel about something using System 1 techniques or projective techniques? And what's their unmet needs? What's truly going to drive resolution of the tensions for them? But you can only do that if you bring it all together in one study. So what we've built out are these different consumer activations. So all these little tiles on here represent something we're doing with consumers, engaging with them in a different way. And every study we do covers these 4 areas. So maybe you want to find the consumer's unmet needs, maybe for hair care, maybe for autos, something else. We're then going to pick the right set of activities to engage with them in a way that's going to get deep understanding, not just, okay, they answered the survey on purchase intent and we know what they want. It's actually going to bring deeper understanding because you've engaged with them completely. That's going to bring all kinds of different data in, right? There's going to be verbatims, there's going to be some quant parts, there's going to be photo uploads, selfie videos. I thought Jared's presentation earlier was great to show, let's get people really talking without a moderator and let them be free. We do that as part of these studies as well, so you can get that complete understanding that way. And then the real tough part comes, which is going back to what I said before. You want to be able to take action with your study. So if we were to just do all that and dump all that data onto our clients, they'd be a bit lost because it's too much, too different. So we're then going to synthesize all that to the clear recommendations about what you need to do next. And there are 3 reasons why we can do this. So first, everything we do is at scale. We're never doing 10 interviews or something like that. It's with a crowd of consumers, minimum 50, sometimes up to thousands, to make sure that you have a representative sample. So you're not just saying, well, we talked to 3 people and they felt really strongly about this. Maybe those 3 people aren't right. Get a deep understanding from more people so you can be really sure about what it is you're doing. As I said, do, feel, think, want, making sure we're engaging with them in ways that get that complete consumer view, so we're not just finding out one prism here. And then finally, as I said, bringing that all into clarity with a simple, clear, final result that tells you, you need to go do this, and here's why, and we can summarize that in 10 slides if need be. And this is not easy to do, but if you think about my concern going into my life of wanting to be able to explain everything with numbers, we've got numbers in here, we've got emotion, we've got the deep consumer view in different ways at scale, which satisfies my desire for big data and thick data that you can truly analyze. We've now taken that one step further, which is to build out the areas, the research design that our clients have most frequently been looking to solve. So again, you have these little tiles here. Each one of those is a consumer activation. And we've figured out these different spaces that will resolve the issue that the client's facing. So there's a whole big list here. I'll talk about a few of them just briefly. But the key thing that we've built here is to understand what those outcomes of the study are. I think we've long been in the position of, we've got these crowds, it works really well, and trust us, you're going to get a great result. Now with what we've built with these groups of activities, there's a whole analytical framework that we can tell you exactly what output you're going to get going into the study, which then helps with, I need to manage my stakeholders, I need to be able to take action after this. I know what it's going to look like up front. So getting to that, back to that equation, getting that action in place, even before the study starts, we know exactly what it's going to look like, and we know if that's going to work to have the people that actually need to make things happen, make them happen. I'll give a few examples here. So why to buy Journey Optimizer? There are many ways to look at how to influence consumers in their path to purchase. This is ours, and it's a complete mapping of understanding exactly all the touch points you can have by using these crowds and getting this full understanding of consumers. And by doing that, you're going to be able to improve the whole omnichannel view of what they need to do. We did this for a laser hair removal client in Japan, and because they have different ways to, they were able to double share on e-commerce in less than 6 months. They had a lot of problems, but they were able to do that very quickly. Another example, category where to play. Right? We get this question a lot. What should be my product offering? What should I do for consumers? We worked with an insurance company to find a totally new initiative about mental health insurance, which no one had really been working in. And this was actually, they said, we think there's something to do with mental health insurance. By using these crowds, we were able to develop a space where consumers, or really sufferers, wanted to be engaged with, and that led to a partnership with an app, and they've already helped millions of people reduce premiums, reduce costs for insurance companies by engaging in this way. One last one, we have an iterative concept builder. Who here deals with concept innovation? A lot of people. We had a client that said, we're 2 weeks from our basis test, we're not ready, we need to solve this. So we developed a different way of working from the ground up with concepts, with consumers, that no one had really done before. And what we're able to do by doing that was actually give them the highest basis score they'd ever gotten in just 2 weeks of 4 rounds of field work. And then we actually surpassed that 2 times more with that same client. So by using this holistic approach at scale with depth, we've been able to, crack different things for our clients that, again, my sort of statistician brain would have been very happy to see going in, where I wanted everything to be explained in a clear way. I'm really happy to talk with anyone about this further. Really eager to have some discussions about some other examples we've used, and just philosophically about how you can take your results of your research into more action.
That was awesome. And I love how all the different presentations kind of flow into each other. I thought that was really great. So we're going to take about 2 questions. So we got one on the front row. All right, let's get it.
Hey, Andrew, thank you for putting this together. Great presentation. So one thing that the insights team or the market research team needs to deliver is insights, but actionable insights, right? So based on the different tools you have and bringing them alive to the real world is a different thing, right? And how do you manage then to use them to really bring actionable insights to your clients, things that they can act on for the business, for the consumers?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, I had a discussion with my boss, who's the founder, a while back when I joined, and said, what if the crowd doesn't come through for us this time? This was 3 years ago. He goes, I always have that same worry, every study, but they always have. So the principles that I showed on that middle slide of crowdsourced consumer clarity has always delivered for us because there's such a robustness of data that we've never failed to get those deep insights. To your question, Francisco, how do we then translate that into action? I think that's because every step of the way, we're a brand-focused company. We're not really a research-focused company. We start with the discussion about what you're trying to solve as your brand. So I like to say all's well that begins well. If you start with the end in mind of what are we trying to do, what are we trying to solve for here, that then influences the entire research. And if we come to the end and we haven't delivered on that, the client's going to say, you didn't do your promise. So I think it starts by promising that, understanding what they need to take it forward, who are their stakeholders, and then just the strength of the wisdom of the crowd has always come through for us because of this approach.